Hey everyone, this is Horace, and today we're going to take a look at the Zodiacal Releasing Technique. And here we go. When you get into this website, that's the page you'll see. You can enter the birth data in this block here. You need the birth date and time with your birthplace to calculate the chart. In the ascendant settings, you'll need to turn the house system to whole sign and click Display the Lot of Fortune. After you have entered them all to the website and click the Calculate chart, you'll see this unique natal chart. These are the elements in the chart and I will explain them later. Before that, here are some crucial concepts you must know for this technique. First of all, the glyphs in astrology. This is so important, make sure that you can identify each of them. Here we have 12 zodiac signs at the top, which are Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. At the bottom, there are 7 visible planets we use in traditional astrology, which are the Sun, the Moon, the Mercury, the Venus, the Mars, the Jupiter, and the Saturn. Again, these are just the symbols which astrologers use, so make sure to remember them all in order to use them in every astrology chart. Domicile rulers is the most important concept you'll ever learn in the traditional astrology, which also indicates the human society and structures according to ancient astrologers. This is the graph of domicile rulers which interrelates the signs and planets. For example, the Sun is the ruler of Leo, and the Moon is the ruler of Cancer, etc. The reason for this order is that ancient astrologers think the Sun represents the spirit, the incorporeal stuff. On the other hand, the Moon represents the body, the corporeal stuff. These two planets have the largest effect to human beings, so astrologers put them in top 2 signs, Cancer and Leo, which in human society represent the king and the queen. And other planets represent the different components in the society. Mercury is the closest planet to the Sun, so they actually represents the bureaucrats surrounding the center of power who's talk about how to implement edicts to manage the country. Go a little bit further, the Venus represents the beauties in the palace and the scholars used by the emperor. Next is the Mars representing the military force. Then is the Jupiter, represent the reverend and intellectuals making speech around the country. Lastly, the Saturn. Above the country, there are sublime administrative system and ideology, which the whole country depends on. And when you think about it, in an ancient empire, where are the threats? Number 1, the military forces which may betray the empire and cause rebellion. Number 2, the administrative system that would bind the life of king and queen into it, and they were stuck into political struggle. At last, an inefficient system arises, which finally brings the whole country into declination. In astrology, we correspond them to the aspects, meaning that the zodiacal position between 2 planets has similar effects. In this graph, we can see the Mars is in 90 degrees with the Sun and the Moon. Thus, we define the 90 degrees with Mars' nature, and 180 degrees with the Saturn's nature. Meaning that if 2 planets have 90 degrees aspect, way of their communication will be similar to that of Mars. According to that, the 90 degrees and 180 degrees are so-called the hard aspects, which we use in Zodiacal Releasing Technique. In addition, the 60 degrees and 120 degrees are corresponding to Venus and Jupiter, the so-called easy aspects. Since the Mercury represents the bureaucrats, which is hard to tell whether they're good or bad, so they're neutral planets. As I mentioned previously, Venus and Jupiter are work for the empire, so they are benefic planets, meaning they have constructive power. Opposite to that, Mars and Saturn might fight against the empire, so they are malefic planets and got the destructive power. After you know the nature of aspect and planets, another skill you must learn is to identify the sect of the chart. Since the astrology uses the actual astronomical phenomena when the sun is above the horizon, meaning that this chart is a diurnal chart. Otherwise, it's a nighttime, meaning that this is a nocturnal chart. That does matter because the following concept will use them as factor of judgment. And these are the nature of the planets. The Sun, the Jupiter, and Saturn are the diurnal planets. They will be in their sects when it's a diurnal chart. And the Moon, the Venus, the Mars are the nocturnal planets. They will be in their sects when it's a nocturnal chart. Plus, we don't really judge the Mercury since it's a neutral planet. Here's how you are going to use them in judging a natal chart. If a planet is insect, it will tend to be more constructive. Otherwise, it will tend to be more destructive. If we match them to the benefic and malefic planets concepts, we can conclude that in diurnal charts, Jupiter is the most benefic planet and Mars is the most malefic planet. Moreover, in nocturnal charts, Venus is the most benefic planet and Saturn is the most malefic planet. After that is the topic of house divisions. In this part, the astrologers are discussing about how to divide a ecliptic into different parts to represent the human affairs. In Zodiacal Releasing Technique, we use the whole sign houses, meaning that we find the position of a certain point first, in this case the ascendant, and the whole sign where the ascendant located in becomes the first house. The second sign becomes the second house, etc. After these basic concepts, we're now getting into the zodiacal releasing section. Just as I mentioned before, other forms of house division exists. Whole sign houses can start not only from the ascendant, but also can start from lot of fortune. We only need to follow the previous steps, but treat the lot of fortune as ascendant, by which we get the whole sign house by lot of fortune. And this is only the another coordinate system in which each sector has special meanings and definitions. Keep that in mind and we'll talk about that later. During the process of learning, you might have wondered why this method is called zodiacal releasing. To answer that question, let's talk about releasing first. Do you still remember that the sun signifies the mind and the moon signifies the body? Here are two Hellenistic lots which are a lot of spirit and a lot of fortune, which you have seen before in the chart, and they represent the career and health in your life respectively. The rationale of it is that the lot of spirit, which uses the sun as primary factor, symbolizes your spirit, that in the human affairs can be correspond to your career, your ambition, and the same rationale for the lot of fortune. Which means if you want to know about someone's career trend, you start from the lot of spirit, or in our way, release from the lot of spirit. Besides, if you want to know about health trend of somebody, you release from the lot of fortune. And the second question, why is zodiacal? Since we use the zodiac signs in time calculation, meaning that if we want to know the certain affairs in that period, we check the specific sign for that specific thing. Say we want to know his health trends in his first 19 years, and in this case, his lot of fortune is in Leo. You check the Leo to determine his first 19 years health trend. The next 20 years check the Virgo. The next 8 years check the Libra, and you repeat that process so on and so forth. And what if you want to know about his career trends, you have to release from where the lot of spirit is located in, so that his first 30 years career trends can be determined by the Aquarius. But the only exception here is that if two lots you're trying to analyze are in the same sign, and one of them is the lot of fortune, you have to release the lot other than lot of fortune from the next sign, but the lot of fortune is still released from the sign it's located in. For instance, in this graph, if you want to learn about his health, you still start from Cancer. And the Cancer represents his first 25 years health trend. Yet if you want to learn about his career trends, you have to release from next sign, which is Leo, to know about his first 19 years career trends. If you are still confusing about how to actually determine the time period of each sign and how they should be ordered, don't worry, because the computer will do that for you. Here I use the AstroSeek to search for each period. All you have to do is to get in this website and enter all the informations needed. Then it will automatically calculate the information we need. For those of you who don't actually know about how the Time Lord works, different layers exist in Zodiacal Releasing Technique, which take charge of different time periods. And the core of interpreting the zodiacal releasing is that when the bad or good signs and different layers overlap with each other, this is the time when the event is most likely going to happen. For example, if his Gemini has a Saturn and Sagittarius has a Mars, when it comes to March 11th, 1944, the level 1 is the Gemini and the level 2 is the Sagittarius. They both have a malefic planet, so the overlapping malefic is called the trough of his career. And now it's time we use the another coordinate system. When the time comes to 12th, 3rd, 6th, 9th house from the lot of fortune are the preparatory periods. When it comes to 1st, 4th, 7th, 10th house from the lot of fortune are the peak periods. When it comes to 2nd, 5th, 8th, 11th house from the lot of fortune are the resolution periods. During preparatory periods, you will do preparatory works. During peak periods, it's a climax of the event, but you don't actually know whether the climax is good or bad for you. During the resolution period, it is the fruition and completion of your works. By combining the contents in previous chapters, we can do something even further, but before which, we got a test. You have 5 seconds to answer the question. When we want to check his career trends, we should start from his lot of spirit. And lot of spirit is in Taurus, so we should release from Taurus. And you have another 5 seconds to think about when will any of his affairs come to a climax. It's when the zodiacal releasing period comes to Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. They're in the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th house according to the lot of fortune. By now, you must be curious about how to recognize whether the coordinate affairs in this time period are good or bad. To answer that, we must go back to some previous concepts. That is, in diurnal chart, Jupiter is the most benefic planet and Mars is the most malefic planet. In nocturnal chart, Venus is the most benefic planet and the Saturn is the most malefic planet. In order to read the zodiacal releasing, first of all, you have to recognize which type of period you're trying to analyze is in, and identify the sect of the chart, which allows you to know about what planets are in the sect and what planets are out of sects. By that, you can know which planet is the most benefic and which is the most malefic. Let's say the period you're trying to analyze has an insect Jupiter, without any intervention of other malefic planets. It represents a good luck and constructive period, and vice versa. If the sign has no planets at all, you'll need to check the square signs and the opposite sign. The square signs meaning the signs that are 2 signs away. For example, the Aries has no planets at all, so that you check the Cancer, the Capricorn, and the Libra to see if there are any planets here to determine the Aries period. If there are nothing, check the ruler of the sign. In this case, if your releasing period is in Aries and there are no planets in Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, and Aries, you'll check the condition of Mars to determine this period. If it is an insect malefic, that often means the difficulties are solvable. And now let's take a look at several examples to see whether the technique works. This is a natal chart of Frederick II. First, be aware of that his sun is about the horizon, so it's a diurnal chart, by which we can know that the Jupiter is the most benefic planet in his chart since it's insect, and the Mars is the most malefic planet in his chart since it's out of sect. Then we rearrange the houses according to his lot of fortune. Say we want to know about his career affairs so that we find the position of the lot of spirit and it's not in the same sign with the lot of fortune. Thus, we release from the sign Scorpio, which the lot of spirit is located in order to analyze his career. And let's take a look at the events in his life to see if they match. When it comes to January 19th, 1730, the king condemned Cat, who is his close friend, to death, and he forced Frederick to watch his beheading at Custrin on 6th November, leading the crown prince to faint just before the fatal blow. And we can see the reason why, because Aquarius has out-of-sect Mars and an opposition with Saturn. However, the level 1 is in Sagittarius, which has a benefic planet with no malefic planets in contact. Thus, he born to be a prince. So, his early life was relatively good. The April 31st, 1740 was the death of Frederick William and his inheritance of the kingdom of Prussia. This happens when level 1 and level 2 are both in Capricorns. You can see that Jupiter is in Capricorn and with no malefic planets in his square or opposite sign. By which we know anytime the period comes to Capricorn, that would be his lucky date of career. Now you might have noticed some strange little suffixes here, like what is LB? Well, that means losing of the bound, the time when this affair would experience a great change. The losing of the bound happens when the sign comes to the starting sign of this level. Here it starts with Capricorn. In 843 it should have gone to Capricorn, but that's where this level starts from, so it goes to the sign opposite to it. Here we can see that at the time when his father died was losing of the bound, where it jumped from Leo to Aquarius, representing the huge change in his career, became a king. And after that, the First Silesian War 1740 to 1742, part of the War of the Austrian Succession, began. We can tell that's because the sign at the time was overlapped with Aquarius and Leo, which 2 malefic planets were located in. The Austrians counterattacked on 17th May 1742, initiating the Battle of Kottusitz. In this battle, Frederick's retained cavalry proved more effective than Almoids, but once more it was the discipline of the Prussian infantry that won the field and allowed Frederick to claim a major victory. In this period was losing of the bound from Aquarius to Leo, but we can see that the event happened in Sagittarius period, which Venus, benefic planet, located in, thus the victory. And the second example here is the Helmut Schmidt. First, aware of that, his sun is below horizon, so it's a nocturnal chart, by which we can know the Venus is the most benefic planet in his chart since it's in sect, and the Saturn is the most malefic planet in his chart since it's out of sect. And we rearrange houses according to his lot of fortune. Say we want to know about his health affairs, we find the position of the lot of fortune, thus releasing from the sign of Sagittarius where the lot of fortune is in to analyze his health. Helmut Schmidt died in 10th November 2015, aged 96. First, the Taurus has no planets, but its square signs has 2 malefic planets, in this case, Aquarius and Leo. Gemini has no planets, but is in 7th house according to a lot of fortune, with waxy moon square to it. You might ask, why Capricorn? Isn't the insect Venus represent the most benefic planet in the chart, and the opposite sign also has Jupiter in it? Well, that is because the Saturn in natal 12th house is the ruler of the 6th house. And in mutual reception with Sun, which means the destructive power. This is a higher level technique. The combination of Saturn ruling the bad houses to Venus actually has bad results. However, the Leo is quite obvious, with 2 malefic planets in it. This is only the level 1 of Zodiacal Releasing Technique, so there are several parts missing. But if you want to know more about this topic, the new videos are on their way. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. I will see you in my next video.